What's happening, guys? Happy Wednesday. But if you're watching live on YouTube, happy Sunday. And welcome to the Dynasty WarZone, the People's Dynasty podcast brought to you by the DWZ Fantasy Football Network and BetUS.com. We're going to be chopping it up, talking about some rankings, but I'll tell you who's always my 101 of co-hosts. It is the man of the hour and the man with the power, Jerry Sinclair. What's up on a Sunday?
Randall, I get to sit here on a Sunday. I get to have the stream of the Sunday night game in the corner, and I get to talk to you, and I get to talk Dynasty Fantasy Football. I don't know what in the absolute hell could be better than that, my friend.
We were talking about this earlier, so we are recording this live on a Sunday evening in an effort at the request of Jerry to make sure he gets to spend Tuesday with his lovely wife on her birthday. And since I've got the night off, I'm going to go hang out with our buddies from the FF Dynasty. That's right, Casey, Jay Wayne, maybe Big Co, maybe not Big Co, I don't know. But I'll be hanging out live with those guys on Tuesday night. So we thought we'd get this in early. A lot of good opportunities for us to get this knocked out. And Jerry, we're going to be talking about startup rankings at all four positions.
Yeah, your startup rankings, even better.
My startup ranking. So what we're going to do is tonight on the live stream, and if you're listening on Wednesday at the podcast, we're going to talk about my top 6 at each position: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end. And then we're going to cover 7 through 12 on our Patreon exclusive podcast. I do it every Monday. Jerry's going to be kind enough to jump in and help me out with this. And if you want to get involved in that, head over to patreon.com/Dynasty WarZone. It is our community. It is the primary and main supporters of this show and of the network. They keep us going. And that's where we talk Dynasty 24/7, thanks to those beautiful Australians, Europeans, and Jerry, just good people from all over the globe.
Absolutely, sir. Even Indianapolis. There's at least one good guy from the Indianapolis area.
There is a bevy, a plethora, Hefe. We have a plethora of Indianapolis-based Patreons. And, we got a little comment here in the YouTube. So I'll just go ahead and just put that up there. We don't want to be shy. It's our buddy Mike, best Patreon in the biz. He's got that right.
Best commenter in the biz.
Absolutely. And we're going to do all that over at patreon.com. So if you want to catch rankings 7 through 12, head over there and get signed up. About what, Jerry? 65% of a gallon of gas right now?
Yeah.
Check gas prices near you.
State, yeah.
And you will know. But if you want to just get in on the good stuff, head over to YouTube. Leave us a thumbs up on any of the videos. It certainly goes a long way. And then ratings and reviews. Those are all great, non-opening your wallet. I understand it's Christmas. A lot going on right now. But if you want to support us in any way, leave us a review. Leave us a thumbs up on a YouTube video, as well as the Patreon and Hate Brand Goods. So, Jerry, let's get into some rankings, man. But before we do, how is your playoff situation looking? I know we have the Sunday Nighter going on as we speak. And then we'll have the Monday night game. But how is it looking for you?
So I actually have a few playoff matchups this week. I'm going to win one for sure. I'm sweating one because I had Lamar Jackson. So that's just absolutely just a big old thumbs up. I loved getting 1 point and then watching him limp off the field. I think I'm in good shape, Randy. In the leagues that I think I should be doing well, I'm doing pretty well in. What about you, man? Any surprises? Any Rashad Penny starts that got you over the top?
No, sir. A surprise is a fart with a lump in it, sir. That's what a surprise is. I made the playoffs in 14 of my 17 leagues. Most of my playoff spots were wrapped up.
Guy.
Yes. I am tired of being humble. I'll just say it like it is. I'm kicking a lot of ass. The only ass I'm not kicking is our patrons' ass. As a matter of fact, those are the 3 leagues I didn't make the playoffs in. They're slapping me around.
Yeah, they know all my I lost this week too. I think I'm out in that league.
They know all my tricks. They know all my moves. They know everything that I know because I share but my industry leagues, those are the ones that I'm taking a ton of pride in. Trade Addict 7 with a lot of industry names. Number 2, going to finish in the number 2 spot. Buy locked up, which is great. Don't know the health of Austin Eckler right now. and we'll get Jonathan Taylor and Carson Wentz past that matchup with the New England Patriots. And then we'll be ready for Week 16 and what should be a shootout with the Cardinals. And then the Ultimate Dynasty Podcasters League with a lot of good friends like Tyler Gunther of the Dynasty Happy Hour and Shane Manella of the Dynasty Trades HQ and Izzy from the DTC. You know, I'm the number one seed, finished a very, very humble 13-1 and got the bye there and ready to rock and roll, man. Just been a good season for your boy. And I'm ready to get some playoffs going, but I'm also ready to start talking about some rankings, Jerry.
Listen, I'm always ready to talk rankings, especially if I get to take a couple shots at yours, but I have not seen them. You sent them to me, but I wanted to be surprised, so I did not look at them.
Yeah, we're on what's called the bleeding edge. That's how I operate. I am not a recently converted redraft player, and there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. I want to make sure I make that abundantly clear. There is nothing wrong with any form of dynasty gamer or league. 1 QB, super flex, if you're into a bunch of weird shit, that's all cool. Everyone's welcome at the Dynasty WarZone, but Jerry's primary favorite way to play is super flex, tight end premium, must start 10. Is that fair, Jerry?
Yes, absolutely.
I think that's just exotic enough. You know, auction leagues are fun. Got one of those, by the way, number one seed in that one too. You can see your boy working. IDP, a lot of fun. Our buddy G in the chat right now, Greg, number one in that league. I'm just saying, Jerry, there's a lot of ways to play Dynasty fantasy football. I'm ready to rock. I'm gonna give you the honors, as they say in golf.
Okay.
What position group would you like me to start with?
Let's go wide receiver. You know, that's my startup position. So
it is your startup position. So we'll just talk about. So first of all, I'll talk about where I would start taking wide receivers in a 1 QB startup and then in a super flex. So in a 1 QB league, I would take my first wide receiver off the board at the 104. I will get into that when I get into my running back rankings. My wide receiver 1 is Justin Jefferson. Now, you know, I have a tier. The tiers there used to be the fickle 5. Now I'm down to the Trinity, the big 3, if you will. And then I've changed some rankings, and it's going to boggle some minds and piss some people off, but this is the face of someone who doesn't give a shit. Jerry, who's the biggest Cooper Kupp fan that you know?
The man that I am talking to, sir.
Bingo. Big part of the reason for my success in all the leagues that I've already mentioned. But in a startup right now, he's my wide receiver 18. I love Cooper Kupp, but we're not playing redraft. I can't rank him based off what he's doing now and like he's going to do it now and in perpetuity for the next 5 years. I can't guarantee that. And I love Cooper Kupp. You know, he's the guy that you're going to draft next year in startups, hopefully with us at patreon.com/Dynasty WarZone when we start doing new Patreon leagues in like, you know, February, March. He should be going as in the wide receiver 2 range in a dynasty, but Justin Jefferson's absolutely killing people right now. Had another great game on Thursday night against Pittsburgh, and it's not just about that. He's doing it with Kirk Cousins. I mean, how bad of a quarterback would he have to get? Give me a quarterback in the league that would scare you off of Justin Jefferson.
Should I make a Zach Wilson joke right now?
All right, that's fair.
No. I don't think anybody. I mean, Justin Jefferson is honestly a badass. I could have said someone like who was the Baltimore quarterback today? Tyler Huntley. I could have said that, but he actually looks pretty good, man.
I don't want to throw any shade, but Rashad Bateman had his best game as a pro.
Yes, he did.
With Mr. Huntley. We're not going to talk about Bateman, but Justin's my 101. My 102 is CeeDee Lamb. I know that Jamar Chase is a lot of people's 102. That's fine. He's my 3, by the way. And this is where things start getting dicey. My other 2 guys that had been in the top 5, the big 5, were A.J. Brown and DK Metcalf. But I moved DJ Moore back up into my top 5.
Oh. Okay.
He's only 24 years old, soon to be 25. There's got to be a QB upgrade. I mean, today he finished with like 15 PPR points with Cam Newton and PJ Walker, Texas Ranger. And I don't know that it gets much worse than that. Maybe Zach Wilson is worse than that. And then another guy that I recently moved up into my top 5, Chris Godwin. My goodness.
Even without knowing where he's going to be.
Don't care. Do not care. I mean, again, my only concern with Chris Godwin is he just goes full chase in the bag, and I can't blame him. He's a young guy. He's also 25. He's going into his absolute superpowers, and I can't think of too many spots that would make me super, super nervous for him. New York, I mean, I guess if he chases the money, I mean, if he wants the extra $2 million a year, I guess, then maybe that's, if he goes full Allen Robinson, like, I'm sorry, I have no sympathy for Allen Robinson over the last half decade. You chose Chicago.
Yes.
You knew they were drafting Mitch, or you knew Mitch Trubisky or some rookie was going to be their quarterback when you signed there. And then you don't get a complaint about Mitch Trubisky and Andy Dalton rookies. I mean, you had Blake Bortles. You could have went anywhere, and that's what you chose? Shame on you. So I guess Chris Godwin maybe, but yeah, he's my 5. I mean, he's just absolutely – he looks healthy, looks fantastic. I can't think of too many situations that I would hate for him.
I tend to agree. So here's my question then. If you are in a startup, how many situations are you likely to take wide receivers? Where wide receiver 5 would go? Like, let's say
for me?
Yeah, because I feel like wide receiver 5 probably goes at the end of the second round in a super flex league.
In a super flex, yes. In a 1 QB, after I get past my top 3 running backs, I'm going directly to the wide receiver group, and I'm not going back to running back for a while. In a 1 QB league, I'll go with my big 3 running backs. We'll get to those in just a minute.
So you're good with Chris Godwin as your second round startup pick?
100%.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I would love it. I would absolutely love Chris Godwin, because as we've learned with guys like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Leonard Fournette, Damian Harris, James Conner, Elijah Mitchell, you can find running back. It's kind of like, my big 3 or bust or bump. Is that the term, bump? Like a pass if you're playing like cards or check. We're both poker players. Yeah. If I don't get one of my big 3 running backs in the first round, I'm happy to go wide receiver. Okay. I might even go wide receiver. And that's in a 1 QB. So, yeah, and then to round out my top 6 at the wide receiver position, it is A.J. Brown. I'm letting the talent hang on through the end of the season. So in case you didn't pick up on that, DK Metcalf has fallen out of my top 6. You want to know how far he's fallen out of my top 6? Join the Patreon, patreon.com/Dynasty WarZone. Jerry and I are going to talk about that in our part 2 of this, exclusively for the old patrons. So there's my top 6, Jerry. Jefferson, Lamb, and Chase. And those guys are kind of all in a tier, but people don't want to hear that shit.
No.
People
they want pretty numbers.
They want
numbers that are well organized.
They want definitives. So definitively Jefferson, Lamb, and Chase. Lamb and Chase are off by an eyelash. And the more I see DJ Moore play, the more I like him. And I have him here for now, banking on a QB upgrade. And with Sam Darnold, the first 3 games of the year, he was crushing it.
He was.
So man, if anyone could get a QB upgrade for my man DJ Moore, he would just be amazeballs. Chris Godwin back into the top 5, and then AJ Brown. So what pokes, criticisms, things do you have for me?
I think the DJ Moore one is the one stretch, but I think that going into it. But at the same time, like if I'm gonna put DK Metcalf or Tyreek Hill, like they have their warts too, so I sort of get it. I do agree that it is sort of 3. I was with you on the 5, but you can't see what's been happening to DK Metcalf and just think he's one of those elite 3 guys. AJ Brown gets hurt a ton, so it's tough to have him in there too. Tyreek Hill's going to be like 28. So, I mean, that's tough too. I'm cool with it. I don't think I would have DJ Moore there. He wouldn't be much lower though. Probably 8 or 9 for me.
I mean, that's fair, but you said it. Big thing for me, the best availability. I'm sure the best ability is availability. And that was the knock on AJ Brown. If AJ Brown had been healthy all year, he's probably at number 4 still. Or at least in the top 5. It's not like I threw him at like number 13 or anything right now. I mean, but you have to be honest and you have to look forward. What are we going to do going forward? And here's the thing. Here's my nervousness about DK Metcalf. I'm not going to tell you where he's ranked, But if he's not getting it done right now with Russell Wilson, what's going to happen if Russell Wilson forces his way out of Seattle? So we'll cover the rest of the wide receiver group in the Patreon podcast. What other group you want?
Just hold on. Let me just one more thing. I think there's a theme in sort of all of those. What are they? They're all like 25, right? Chris Godwin might be 25. So I think they're all under 25. Excuse me.
Godwin's 25, soon to be 26, but I don't give a shit.
So all have at least an elite season. They're under 25-ish, depending on Chris Godwin. You know, I think a lot of people in this industry still probably have Tyreek Hill in there. I think there's a lot of Stephon Diggs that's probably in the back end of that. I think there's even going to be a few instances of Devontae Adams. I agree with you in that none of those should be in this, and I am proud of you for going the youth route, because you are a person that does not like to rebuild. You are a person that will patch whatever you can to win at all costs, and that includes accumulating guys that are not older and super flashy. Like, flashy is just not how Randy plays this game. If you have ever played in a league with Randy, it's not how he plays the game at all.
It's how I do everything. It's like when many moons ago, when I did mixed martial arts, I just want to make it as ugly as humanly possible. I'm not here to win. I'm never going to win with flash and flare. I'm not a hot take kind of guy. I keep it very real. Because here's the thing, even if I get one of my young guys, what I tend to do is I tend to stack them with a Cooper Kupp as my wide receiver too. A guy that I'll be looking at next offseason will be a guy like Michael Thomas, depending on where he ends up. DeAndre Hopkins is older, Tyler Lockett. You never know where, you can get a stud, older wide receiver that can play as a wide receiver one, while you're getting not only potential wide receiver performances in the case of a Justin Jefferson, while, continuing to win. So that's why I would start wide receiver. It would depend on where I drafted. That's why they're going to have to stick around and tune in when we get into some startup strategy in around February. So what group would you like to go to next, Gerald?
Let's go quarterbacks. We're going to save running back because they're the sexies. We're going to go them last. So we're going to go quarterback, tight end, then we'll finish it with running backs.
So we're going to end it with the running backs because, Jerry likes drama. I do like that. So for me, these top three guys had also been in a tier, but again, people want definitive. They want rankings. And for me, it's Josh Allen has surpassed Patrick Mahomes, and this has nothing to do with the Sunday night game. It has to do with a conversation I had with Jesse. Jesse is my co-host of Football Sunday School. We do a live stream every Sunday morning around 11, and he and I were talking. And the Chiefs put up, 49 points today?
Yep.
And Patrick Mahomes barely cracked 20 points.
Yeah.
It's the too high safety. And here's the thing about Josh, and then we were also talking about Lamar. Mahomes has regressed a little bit, but he doesn't have the wheels to offset it. Lamar has the wheels, but right now his passing game's not offsetting it. Josh Allen has both. So he's been quote unquote down this year, but he is still having a monster QB year from a fantasy standpoint, and that's what we're here for. So for me, I went Josh Allen number one. Mahomes is still number two. Justin Herbert number three. Dak Prescott for now is number four. Kyler Murray number five. And Joe Burrow took a big jump up. The more I see out of Broadway Joe, the more I love this guy. I probably, the more I see a Dak, the more I get nervous. Bad interceptions.
I agree.
Bad interceptions, playing bad defenses, not lighting it up. They're relying more on defense, which seems odd to say, but you got to respect the weapons. You got to respect the potential. So I probably should have flipped Dak and Kyler, but they're certainly super close for me. My fear with Kyler is that eventually he gets figured out a little bit too. And so top six again, Allen, Mahomes, Herbert, Prescott, Murray, Burrow. Thoughts?
I think that's all good. I am cool with all that. Joe Burrow is something too. Like, if you just watch Joe Burrow, he can just make awesome throws. Like, I know they lost today to San Francisco, but to come back into that game, he made some just unbelievable throws. And he's got T. Higgins and he's got Jamar Chase. So even if he's 60% of what he can be, he's still got those guys to prop him up. So that's always going to be just a fantastic crutch to have.
We're going to talk about one of my favorite tight ends that's going to be a free agent here in a bit that I would love for them to add that fourth option because Tyler Boyd's still there. Have you seen a more underutilized fourth or third asset in a passing game than Tyler Boyd?
No, and he did have a good catch. I saw it on the sideline today, just a killer catch. But yeah, I would love if the Lions had him because he's way better than anything we have.
It's totally awesome for Burrow, but yeah, I think the tight end's the missing piece for that offense. I mean, you got two great wide receivers in Chase and Higgins. Again, Tyler Boyd is no longer going to be very usable or startable in fantasy, but he's great for Joe Burrow. And the defense is getting better, but he just feels like he's always going to be in shootouts. And when you're chasing fantasy points, Jerry, that's what I want. So what do you think about my hindsight? Because you should always look back at your work and question, did I make the right call? What do you think about potentially flipping Kyler and Dak? My concern with Kyler is 2 years in a row, he's had some injury concerns. And that was part of my mindset of keeping him out of the top four and leaving him. And again, we're splitting hairs.
I agree. So I had Kyler at 2. I had Dak at 3 coming into the season. Kyler would definitely fall. I don't know if I would have Dak in the top 5 for all the same reasons that you sort of mentioned. I was very big on Dak. But yeah, the thing about Kyler, I don't think people are going to figure him out. I think he's just a different type of person. I'm just worried that he's too little and he's going to get hurt, like he has continued to do. If you have Kyler Murray this season, you are probably in 3rd or 4th place in your league because the first 7 weeks, you dominated everybody. And then in the last month and a half, you didn't have him. And you've probably lost a ton of games because of it. Is it possible that that's going to continue to happen? It easily could. I mean, he was banged up last year and that rushing stopped. And once that rushing stopped, that ceiling comes down. So I do fear that. I think he would still be in there for me. He's probably 4th, I would guess. We're going to talk about this next week, but I still got to put it all together. I like it. I mean,
I'm going to take the belt.
The only real argument for Patrick Mahomes not being at number 1 is just the contract. It's just, he's locked in. So, if you have him where he's going to be, the situation, he is never not going to be the guy, but he does have aging assets around him. Well, so I can get it. And you're a Josh Allen guy, and I think I would probably have Allen at number 2, and I was a little bit more down on him. So I'm cool with it. I don't think it's egregious. And I think if you would have said that this time last year, it would have been,
it would have been hot takey.
Agree. Yeah. Oh yeah.
It would have been super hot takey, but again, he's the QB1 on the season right now. Now, if Matthew Stafford were to set the world on fire tomorrow night against Arizona, I guess he could leapfrog him. But, all you can do is back up the QB1 overall season last year with another QB1 over. And as that defense regresses a little bit in Buffalo, he's going to have to put the offense on his back. We saw it today. So, yeah, it's more about, again, I look at Mahomes and it's like outside of the Raiders over the last, since week 7, here's his scores: 7.7, 14, 10, 36.2. That's a Raider game. 7.5, a bye, 12.6, and 20.
That's not even 2 in numbers.
That's not good, bro. I can actually filter that for you if you would like. So if we go back to week 7, now there will be a bye in there for him. In all fairness, since the bye in week 7, he is the QB 10 in that time frame.
I mean, good, right? But not
what you paid for.
No,
that's right. Not what you paid for.
That was 101.
That was. There were people out there in Superflex leagues paying what, 4 firsts?
Yeah, get out of here.
Let me
just go back to my statement that I like to reiterate. Nobody in Dynasty is worth 3 firsts.
It's always bound to come back and burn you.
But, yeah.
It's always bound to come back and burn you. So that is why. But yeah, I think there'll be some more pushback from you in my 7 through 12 when we do the Patreon pod here in a minute. So what we're going to do, we're going to talk about the Patreon just for another quick second. Again, this is all the stuff that we do. I think on top of the group chat, the one-on-one that I do. And if you're into gambling, I know a lot of people are posting the underdog props. More and more states are adding. I know Ohio just added legislation that could make sports betting legal in 2022. And for that reason, you're going to want to get in on the Patreon gambling chat. Over my last 2 weeks, I think I'm 9-2.
Okay.
Not too bad. It's if you could have certainly paid for a year's membership just with some gambling props alone. So we're doing good. A lot of good stuff. I just want to remind you one more time, patreon.com/Dynasty WarZone. So, all right, Jerry, I guess in this case, we got to go tight ends.
Yep. The most boring of positions. So.
And I sent you the pick earlier in the day. I have had a couple of revisions, but I am going to go with it. So number one is George Kettle. And this has not, again, this is not recency bias. He's like 28 years old, and he's going to be dominant for 3 years. And, you see that when they focus on him as the primary option, he is unstoppable. And I hope that as the Niners continue to do well, that they continue to rely on Kittle, because he is just so much fun to watch when he's in the zone. The next guy that's kind of going to baffle some people is I was not super high on this guy coming into the season. Too much fanfare, too much hype, too much hoopla. But you can see it's coming. It's right around. It's Kyle Pitts. Again, it's the age factor. And then I've moved Kelsey down to the 3 because it is the age factor. It's not that the Chiefs' offense is struggling. My question is part of the reason that the Chiefs' offense is struggling is that Kelsey's finally starting to lose a little bit to Father Time. And teams are slowly starting to be able to take him out more and more. Because I've not heard any injury issues with Kelsey. Have you?
No, I did not. I almost jerried it right there.
You did. You almost. We'll call that a modified Jerry.
Yeah, but no, I haven't. I think it is just. Listen, Father Time is undefeated except for against Tom Brady.
I mean, he's 31, but what people don't realize is he and Gronk are about the same age, and Gronk took a 2-year refresher away from the game. So still love Kelsey. Still a good offense. Hanging on by a thread at number 4 is your boy TJ Hawkinson of the Lions. He's had some flashes, some moments.
Yep.
Man, it's hard. It's hard when you're the only show in town. You get double and triple teamed, and are you worried about him or Khalif Raymond? Are you worried about him or Josh Reynolds or any of the other crumb bums and or future UPS drivers?
Yeah.
That are on the Lions. So until the Lions can invest in a big wide receiver, there would be a team that I could see throwing a big amount of money at Chris Godwin or Absolutely. One of these free. All of a sudden, if you're the Lions and you're really willing to go one more year with Jared Goff because this is not a great.
Which I think they are. But.
I think they are too. And I think do you throw the King's ransom at Chris Godwin? Do you draft a wide receiver in the draft? You've got TJ Hawkinson, you got Swift, you got a good offensive line. Can you patchwork this, especially if the Packers trade Aaron Rodgers in the offseason? Then with Jordan Love at the QB position in Green Bay and Kirk Cousins and Justin Fields, that makes this division wide open in 2022.
I mean, you would think Minnesota's probably the favorite, but the Lions just beat Minnesota without any improvements going into next year. So it's entirely possible. I'm with you.
And then I've made another modification. I do have Mark Andrews 5. I've got to respect what that guy does. Tyler Huntley, Lamar Jackson. I was worried coming into the season that the drafting of Rashad Bateman, your boy Marquise Brown, Sammy Watkins was going to impact his volume, but it really hasn't. He's played great. Yeah. He has really become a really nifty tight end, and one that I don't think gets enough respect for being as good as he is. And then I have Mike Gesicki 6, and that's probably my hot take. I have him ahead of Darren Waller. I'm going to cover Darren Waller on the Patreon portion of this segment. But what do you think of Kittle, Pitts, Kelsey, Hawkinson, Andrews, Gesicki as my top 6.
I think it's good. Gesicki sort of pisses me off a little bit because what the hell, man? Like, he gets a little bit of work, but he also disappears for giant chunks of games. When the season's over and you look at his numbers and you go, okay, he did good enough. But I think that's just sort of indicative of what the tight end position is. So I think I would probably have Gesicki below a couple guys.
Currently, your tight end 5 on the season.
Yeah.
Now this is using tight end premium scoring. Currently, your tight end 5 that includes his bye week
and a goose egg a couple weeks ago.
Not only a goose egg, he's had 2 goose eggs this year. He goosed in week 1 and he goosed in week 10, and he's the guy. He's, no offense to you Tua fans, you guys can come rough me up on Twitter at DWZ Memphis, but he's the guy. He's the golden goose. He's the you've seen how Justin Herbert has used crumb bum and shoe clerk tight ends like Jared Cook, like Donald Parham.
Oh, he targeted Parham a couple times in the end zone today.
And Jared Cook caught a touchdown today.
Yeah.
But he's the guy that if he lines up with a young stud quarterback like a Herbert or like a Burrow, it's to the moon. I would love him to come to Indianapolis with the Colts. I mean, no offense to Detective Jack Doyle or Mo Alley Cox. I would love to have a Mike Gesicki in Indy. A lot of people think I would like him to get a wide receiver from this free agent class because they're not going to draft one without a first. But
right.
Mike Gesicki is the guy who I think from a dynasty value standpoint, he's going to land in a situation, and I think his stock is going to go rising.
I'm fair with that. As far as Pitts is concerned, you're right. You can see it. Like, he gets tons of love. He gets tons of receptions. He gets tons of yards. You want to see touchdowns. Like, you can't be in this conversation of Travis Kelce and, Tony Gonzalez and Antonio Gates like he's been getting the love for. If you can get one, but they're fluky, right? Like, you can have 1 touchdown this season and 13 next season and 6 the next, and that's the state of this game, and you shouldn't judge him on that. But I'm with you. And dude's like 22 years old. So like, what are you going to do? You going to put Travis Kelce at 31 over him? No, that's
can't do it. I can't do it. Even though
it's bad process.
Kelce is still the tight end 2 on the season, having a fine season. There's a big gap between Kelce at 2 and everyone else. So this is not to take a shot at Kelce. This is dynasty, and you have to be looking a little bit. And like I said, you can smell it with Kyle Pitts. Had Calvin Ridley been there to at least alleviate just a little pressure off of Kyle Pitts and Olamide Zaccheaus and Russell Gage, those guys don't threaten defensive coordinators. No. Cordarrelle Patterson's been a nice story. He doesn't intimidate defensive coordinators. So for me, it's pretty much a slam dunk to get him up there. But Jerry, it's time. I don't know that I have an amazing sound effect for running backs. I'm sure I can rustle something up for you.
I could sing. Do you want me to sing?
No, I don't have a drum. I don't have a drum roll. I'm looking at my board. How about this? Best I can do on such short notice. I did not do a drum roll. So for me, number 1 goes without saying. I've had him here since, I don't know, beginning of the season. I think when we first started talking about this, he's my 101 at the running back position, Mr. Jonathan Taylor. I think this one surprises people. It's great to see the rest of the industry come along with us. Is Najee Harris. Oh, they're like, well, what happens if Big Ben? I don't give a shit if Big Ben leaves. As a matter of fact, I hope Big Ben leaves.
All right.
Please, by all means, here, Ben, here's your hat. Watch your hurry. Get the hell out of here. Beat it. Take him, because, he may lose a couple of targets in the passing game.
Yeah.
But his efficiency in the running game will go up so much more. Third is Deandre Swift. Again, they get any sort of help in the passing game beyond TJ Hawkinson to give this guy some running lanes. I think you're going to see a new sort of special. And this is where it gets dicey. I have Alvin Kamara.
So this is like wide receivers. It's just your big 3.
Well, yes, absolutely. Because for me, it drops off a table after these three guys. It
Okay.
just I want to draft Alvin Kamara at the 104 in a one QB league as much as I want to have my nuts pounded flat with a ball peen hammer.
And that's fair. I
I
think
mean, I
that's
love
fair.
Alvin Kamara, but he's going to be going into year 6, missed his first real significant time this year. I have no idea what his quarterback situation is, although he looked great today
Yeah.
with Taysom Hill. The reason why I have Alvin Kamara ahead of number 5, Christian McCaffrey, is just health. I'm sorry. I had someone, I will not, it was an industry league in an industry chat last night. I will not name names because I was very dismissive. They were like, I was going to offer you Terry McLaurin and Christian McCaffrey for Jonathan Taylor. I was like, I would have said, so no, so fast your head would have spun. I was like, I'm not into self sabotage. I'm not really into running backs going into year 6 that have missed 25 plus games over the last 2 years. That's not what I'm looking to do, even for a guy that I like in Terry McLaurin. Beat it. So I do still like Christian McCaffrey, but I have Kamara ahead of him because Alvin Kamara, I get Sean Payton. I get proven results more often than not. I get a lot less injury time missed. And then number 6, I moved him up before last week, but I have to. It's Javonte Williams. I can't not unsee what I've seen. This is Dynasty. It's not redraft. I don't give a shit that Dalvin Cook's awesome and had 200 yards the other night. He's in my top 12. I'll tell you that. I'll give you hint,
Oh, yeah.
hint. I'll tell you that much. He's in my top 12. But he's also going into year 6, and holy smokes, injury issues. So that's my top 6. It's all young guys, except for the 2 older guys. And the reason why they made the cut, pass catching ability. Proven track record. And I think I'm being very gracious with Christian McCaffrey. I love what he can do, but again, that best ability, Jerry, availability.
I agree. Just as a bonus, if you're watching on YouTube, Justin Fields just threw a piss poor pick 6, and now they're losing 5 minutes left in the half. I figured Randy would like that because he's been pissing on Justin Fields for a while. But I agree with you.
You're killing me, Smalls. But first of all, attack my running back rankings.
I'm not going to attack any of it. I think there's one person that should be in that's not. We're going to talk about that on patreon.com/Dynasty WarZone.
Well, let's hear the name.
Minutes here. Joe Mixon. I think Joe Mixon should be in that category.
You know what? Joe Mixon actually was one. So the biggest risers in my running. So the top 5 have been the top 5 for a while. I did like a mid-season rankings for our patrons. Everybody loves rankings, and that's part of the funnest part of playing Dynasty and fantasy. Every week you want to see rankings. So often in Dynasty you want to see rankings. I'll tell you the biggest mover for me was Javonte Williams. I did have him at 8. He moved up to 2. Joe Mixon moved up significantly. I had Joe Mixon around 15. I'll tell you now, he's in my top 10. Big mover. So just a lot of guys that I had to move. Cam Akers came out. Biggest faller was Cam Akers. Saquon Barkley. I still have Cam Akers higher than most, probably higher than you'll want to talk about.
You know what's funny is you named all 6, and I didn't even think about Saquon Barkley. Like at no point was I like, oh my god, this guy doesn't have Saquon Barkley in his top 6, because I don't.
Thank
I'm
you.
good. It literally never even crossed my mind.
I
think the top 3 is pretty chalk. Honestly,
it is now, but it's been my chalk for 4 months.
I definitely had Najee ahead of Swift going into the season. I think I would have it switched. I think I would have Swift at 2, just because the receiving ability is just unbelievable. Not that Najee's isn't. As far as the old guys, I just sort of hate them. So I would never have them in any startup situation. So just with that strategy,
I'm trading out right there.
I would have them below. What's up?
I'm trading out right there.
Yeah, I agree.
Here's, if you're taking some of the older guys, and we'll just say their names, we'll forget their rankings. If in a startup this February, if you're doing a startup and you take McCaffrey or Kamara, you have made a declaration in the very first round. You've taken your flag, you've jammed it in the ground as hard as you can, and you said, I'm going to try to win a championship in the next 2 years. That's what you said.
But you also need to finish your entire draft that way.
That's right.
That's the problem, is that it pigeonholes you into a short-term strategy, which is why I hate it, and that's why I won't do it.
And if you draft Christian, I'll tell you this, if you draft Christian McCaffrey or Alvin Kamara in a startup this year, this February, especially if you do it with us in our patron leagues, I'll tell you right now, you better not trade your first, because you're going to need that first to replace that running back in the not too distant future. Because and that's counterintuitive to the win now strategy, because normally in the win now strategy, guys like Jerry trade you their picks and they want your first, because they're banking on you over committing to the quote unquote win now, not factoring in the variance of injury, the volatility of the running back position, and that they get your first. And then all of a sudden we look up at the end of the year and your win now strategy fell apart because you drafted Derrick Henry too early. And now your thought was going to be the 110, 111, 112 is now actually the 105. And Jerry's over here giggling because he's going to get one of these young stud running backs, or like a Treylon Burks, at the wide receiver position. You're just giggling at that point.
It's house money. So that's why I would probably have both of them lower.
That's why you have to that's why you have to have rankings. That's why you have to have a board. And you have to understand that before you hit the draft player button in a dynasty, you have to understand what the next Jerry, do you play chess?
I am not good, but I have played a little bit.
What about billiards? Did you ever play any billiards?
Yeah, terrible. I am not good at geometry. Math is not. I read old books, man. That's what I do.
So, ladies and gentlemen, write that down. Games of mental skill. I guess billiards is both mental and physical. I'm just busting your balls. I'm not the world's best chess player either, but I was a decent 9-ball player, shooting pool back in the day. And in 9-ball, you have to think 3 moves ahead. It's not just okay. Because in 9-ball you shoot in rotation order, 1, 2, 3, whatever, and you just can't. Well, I got to make the 1 ball and then I'll figure out the 2. It's shooting the 1 should set up the 2, should set up the 3, should set up the 4. You should be looking. It's the same thing with chess. You should be looking several moves down the board, and that unfortunately is not the way. A lot of times in Dynasty, I think this is the worst advice in Dynasty, to be quite honest, and that's what we refuse to do at the Dynasty WarZone, is, Jerry, you ever heard anyone say just draft the best player available?
All the time.
And what conjures up in your mind when you hear the term best player available?
Old.
I hear a best way to fail.
Okay.
At Dynasty fantasy football. I've always used this. I've stolen this because it's one of my favorite analogies that I've ever heard Colin Cowherd do. It's the Rake Theory. He analogy. He does it every year during the NFL draft. Everybody talks about best player available. You got to draft value, Jerry. You got to draft value. He was like, imagine you only have $20 left to your family, and your wife sends you to Walmart to get groceries, and you see a $40 rake, and it's on sale for $20. It's a tremendous value, Jerry. But did you need a rake?
You did not need a rake.
But Jerry, it was a value.
It was a value.
But it doesn't serve the immediate needs at hand.
Nope.
And I think sometimes, yes, you do have to take a value pick. Sometimes you're the Dallas Cowboys and CeeDee Lamb falls to you in a horrible spot. But very rarely with shrewd Dynasty gamers are you really getting as much value as you think you are.
So like if somebody had Saquon Barkley fall to the beginning of the 2nd round this year in a draft, right? That was value, Randy. Until
value, Jerry. It's always value until it's not, Jerry.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not a knock on Saquon Barkley. We're getting ready to chop him up here in just a minute as we wrap this up. But, those are my rankings. I'll run them through real quick. Quarterbacks. We have Allen, Mahomes, Herbert, Dak, Kyler Murray, and Joe Burrow. Running backs, Jonathan Taylor, Najee Harris. Maybe it's Najee? Deandre Swift, Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey, Javonte Williams. Wide receivers, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, DJ Moore, Chris Godwin, AJ Brown.
Spicy.
Tight end. What's that?
I said spicy.
Spicy.
I think that's your spiciest one.
I'm just calling them like I see them. George Kittle, Kyle Pitts, Travis Kelce, TJ Hawkinson, Mark Andrews, Mike Gesicki, Jerry. There they are, my top 6 across all 4 positions. I don't do defense. I don't do kickers, stuff like that. I do enjoy a touch of IDP.
I like playing IDP. I'm just not good at it. That's my problem. Like I saw Greg talking about the Rockolution League. I'm just so dog shit at defense that it is so detrimental. That and taking Jared Goff, which he'll remind me of. But
you know who traded up to draft Micah Parsons in that league? Do you have any guesses? That was me. I'm sorry. That was me. That was me. And Najee Harris. How do you walk away with the number 1 running back and the number 1 linebacker in an IDP league?
Yeah, that worked out for you.
And
how's that league going, Randy?
I think I'm 12-2, Jerry.
Yeah.
Absolutely hung.
Drafting well works.
And that's a league where I actually don't have Cooper Kupp. The shame, the absolute shame. But Jerry, it's a shame that we have to wrap this up because we have to go jump into a Patreon version of this. Thank you for tuning in. Now, next week, Jerry is going to bring in a bunch of old and busted guys. I'm going to take. I'm going to take his ranking. So Jerry's going to walk in here. He's going to be super proud. He's getting ready to graduate from college, by the way. If you see him on Twitter at JerrySinDWZ, man, send that man a congratulations. Graduating from college, high school, anything, it's a lot of hard work. So congratulations to you.
Thanks, buddy.
But when I hear your rankings next week, I want you to be prepared for this.
I don't remember asking you a goddamn thing.
That's what's going to happen. So next week, we're going to cover Jerry's rankings for a startup. We'll talk about the Dynasty playoffs. We might even throw a trade target or two in here. I'll get that. I'll get that ready. I'll find that old drop. I have an intro. I have a playoffs drop intro. I'll see if I can get that pulled back together for next week's show, Jerry.
Love it.
All right, man. Well, until next time, and in between time, that man's name is Jerry Sinclair. You can follow him at JerrySinDWZ. You can follow me at DWZ Memphis. You can follow the show at Dynasty WarZone on Instagram and Twitter. And here at the Dynasty WarZone, Jerry, what do we like to do?
We're just trying to make the world a better place for fantasy football, man.
You're damn right we are. So we're going to go record a Patreon show. Hope you join us, patreon.com/Dynasty WarZone. Have a great week, guys.